Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I'm going to work on another reel that Glenn sent in from Alaska. These reels have been fished hard, and the problem with this reel, as we can see with all the line gathering, is that this level wind reel is not, the level wind's not being driven on this one. The worm gear works fine, so the issue has to be in the line guide pawl. It catches occasionally, sometimes it doesn't. So we'll address that, and we'll show you how to tune it up. So this reel is the Penn Fathom 25 LW for level wind. It's got a gear ratio of 4.3 to 1, and it pulls in 24 inches of line every rotation. Very nice, substantial reel, and Glenn fishes these reels hard, and they're all in for service, and some of them need some pieces and parts. In this case, I needed the line guide pawl, and I went ahead and ordered the spring as well. And that's because, well, you don't want to just assume one piece is going to be the part that is at issue. You want to find out that it's the other. So for the extra $1 and change, it doesn't make any sense to leave one behind. Well, we're starting by removing the exterior pieces and parts. I started with the lockdown screw for the handle screw, and I'm going to remove that. As I do that, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you like the auto fishing reel service and repair. If you'd like to learn about fishing reels, their manufacture, how they come together, and how they get serviced, well, that's kind of what the channel is all about, teaching you how to do it yourself, and I try to provide the hints to make it go easy. When we remove that handle screw, there's a plastic washer that goes on it. When I remove my pieces and parts, I use a parts tray to keep track of them, and I also encourage you to take pictures as you remove the pieces and parts at critical junctures. And that's because, well, trusting your memory, sometimes it just isn't that trustful or trustworthy, I guess is the right word. But well, just from experience, I've learned that if you take the time and you take the pictures, that it will help you out of jams. Now in my case, the picture I'm taking is a video. You don't need to do a video, but like when you go to open up the case, we'll point some critical junctures out. You go pick up the case. It's always a good idea to get that first look on film. How old am I now? Get that first look on a picture, and well, you can go from there. All right, I'm going to just clean off some of that debris that was hiding behind the handle screw cap. We'll put that into my parts tray so I don't lose that. All right. Next up then, we want to remove this little washer here. This washer sets on the back side of the handle. There's a little insert there. You'll see the point for it. It'll sit in there when we go to reinstall. Then there's a tension washer that's next up. It kind of prevents the star adjuster from backing into the handle. This one's on a little tight here. I'm thinking from my experience with the reels that we have so far that we have an issue here with salt and accumulated debris on those tracks. We'll get that off in a moment. Just wanted to find my cap to do that. And then just take a hard bristle brush, pull through that. You can see that there's dirt in the tracks there. And that'll make it easier to remove the star adjuster. Star adjuster comes off by backing it out in a counterclockwise manner. And these reels have become very popular. They're fairly priced, and you get a good amount of gearing. You get some nice materials in the reel, and overall, it's I think it's a value for where it's priced at. Inside there was a click mechanism. Inside that click mechanism there's two tension washers, and we'll show you on the Reassembly. There's also two tension washers here. If you can't get them out right now, don't worry about them. Well, I got them out, but if they don't come out, they will come out when you remove the side plate. Note that these are not flat washers, that they are beveled, and well, it just gives you more control over the tension of your star adjuster. In my case, I like to put them belly to belly, if you will, so that I have a gap on the internal side of that, and that internal gap kind of gives you some additional tension. There's 4 side plate screws. When you go to remove the side plate screws, make sure that you use the appropriate screwdriver. The appropriate screwdriver is one that has the blade width the same as the width of the slot on that screw that you are removing. These screws come with a plastic washer, that's sort of a water seal between the head of the screw and the side plate. So if you find a little plastic washer laying around, either inside the case or on your desk while you're doing that assembly, just know that it goes on the back of the screw. A good habit that I've gotten myself into and I recommend is that you remove the screws and place them on your table to make sure that all of those screws are the same size. I know it kind of sounds like why would they be a different size, but trust me, there's a lot of examples when working on reels where one of those screws is a different size or a different thread pattern or the like, and you need to know where that is for the time to reinstall. Those 4 came out. I just want to check the back. There's nothing in the back. So this is our view into the reel itself now, and you can see this has been fished hard. There's all the grease is gone on this reel. There's dirt and sand on some of the springs, and we'll show you how to clean that up. This reel does have, and it's an anti-reverse, but it also has a backup AR traditional dog. And well, what we're going to do now is we're going to clean the inside of this case. Even though you had those little water seals and some of the other things on the screws, dirt and debris will get in these conventional reels because the spool is not sealed. There's no way to make that watertight, so what happens is the water comes in through the sides of the spool where they meet the case. This would be an example right here. And it brings with it everything that, well, was in that water. Salt, micro sands, dirt, and a lot more sometimes. So what I wanted to do here is get all of that off. I've used a penetrating oil to soften the dirt. And I've used a cotton swab to clean up. And that's what I'm going to do here with this AR clutch. Now, these clutches are friction clutches. They do not get oiled or greased, but a lot of stuff winds up on them, and that will cause it to slip over time. Take a picture here. We noted about taking pictures before. This is the internal sleeve for that AR clutch. Before I remove that, I want to get rid of these, not get rid of, I want to remove these 2 springs. They tend to shoot and cause havoc when you lose them. They are hard to find. So know that they are on there. Take them off. I'm going to clean up the dirt on the inside. A lot of the service is all about cleaning, inspecting, refreshing, and putting them back together again. Okay. We want to remove this gear stack next. This is the backup anti-reverse dog here, and you want to slide that up as you remove the gear stack. That's your gear stack with the case. Here is your yoke and your pinion gear. This is your jack for free spool release. And we can see sand and salt and old lubrication on the inside of this. And of course, a lot of this has to do with the basic service. Just clean it up, take your time. Put some music on in the background if you're just bored watching yourself clean the reels. And, well, do it now and you won't worry about it later. What happens if you leave this in the reel too long is it becomes abrasive. It gets onto parts that it shouldn't get onto. And, well, either slows down the momentum of the reel, in other words, it becomes harder to turn, or worse. Okay, we've done a pretty good job there in terms of cleaning that up. I want to take a moment here to clean off the other pieces. This is the jack. It's got 2 bumps in it. This jack will push the pinion gear assembly out and away from the spool. the pinion gear hooks on these two studs right here on the spool. So when you pull it away, the spool can run free, or hence free spool. You want to clean that up. You can see the old greases and dirt on the yoke. It's called the yoke because, well, it looks like a yoke of an oxen. These are nice stainless parts, or at least they appear to be stainless. And then on the pinion gear itself, well, as I mentioned, one of the issues with this reel is that, well, there's no lubrication in there. There is some dried greases in the channels, so you can use a pick. This is a pick I got from Harbor Freight as part of a multiple pack. This is one way to do it. You could use a safety pin, you can use a toothpick, but make sure the old greases get out of there. Another way to do that is to take a bristle brush and pull through. And I like to do that onto a paper towel, as you see here, because I don't want that on my desk when I go to work the next piece. Inspect the teeth on this gear. It's in good condition. Know on this yoke that there is a side that has a ramp that's going to face inward. The side with the slots is also going to face inward. And you want to start kind of reassembling. Don't leave the pieces all around. This is a Penn grease. It's called Penn Precision Reel Grease. It's a fishing reel grease. That's why I use it. Not because this is a Penn reel. It's convenient that it is. But I pretty much use this grease on everything. Find the ramp side. Make sure the slot goes to that side. The little ramp is going to get pushed by that yoke in the back, and it just makes it easier for that yoke to engage with that gear. All right, that's been reset. We're going to bring the two pieces in, and we're going to slide. I could have put that in earlier. Grab a little bit of grease to the back side and get it on the shoulders of the case. I'm going to slide this underneath, and we're going to leave that slot in the top part. That's because this stud here on this free spool release right there is going to go into that slot, and as you move it, it's going to push it down or pull it up. Okay, we've cleaned the case, we've started the part on the back here, and we want to service the gears itself. Make sure that on these you clean all of these off for the same reasons that we noted earlier, and that is that the dirty grease will have an effect on it. I'm not sure if we have a bushing or a burring back here. I'm going to load that up with oil. That'll help regardless of which one it is. This is our backup AR or anti-reverse dog. This has what's called finger joint. And you want to load your finger joint, one piece on each side, and the beak going into the slot of this ratchet. Once you do that, bring it over. That's a rectangular slot, so find the rectangular side of the gear shaft, bring it over, make sure that the hole on your anti-reverse dog accepts the anti-reverse dog itself, and then test it. Bring it over, it should back off, pull it in, and it should backstop this reel. I'm going to take the assembly out now. This assembly was changed by Penn, so if you know the earlier assemblies, you know that you had eared and keyed ratchet drag washers, metal washers. What Penn has done with the changes over time is that they moved it over to a case where your drag washers themselves are acting as the ratchet or the eared washer, and that the metals are all the same. Okay, we're cleaning that off. You're going to notice there's a little lip on this. This is your hard washer that goes behind, and this washer also goes on to that click ratchet, just like that. And that washer's there so that you have clearance with the little arms here, or the fingers on that joint. If this wasn't here, that would be rubbing against the backing, and well, that wouldn't work out very well. Okay, inspect your gears. Do the same thing. Check to make sure that those channels are clear. I've been looking at these. They're very clear. The reel's dry. But I'll do this as an example. Pull through. Once you know that they're clear, apply your fishing reel grease. I use an artist brush for that. There's all kinds of things you can use. Some people use the plumber's flux brushes. And people use, well, I used to use metal screwdriver. That way you know that you're not going to drop any hairs. And, well, whatever it is convenient for you. I guess you could use your fingers if you wanted to. But as you can see, it gets messy. That's why I wear a glove. There's a lot of old greases and the like here. So I'm going to pull that over and turn this around so I get a cleaner side of this. So there's three different, there's a set of 6 washers. The drag washers themselves, the HT100 drag washers, they're all the same. The metals, there's 2 that are rounded and there's one that's got a bevel or a bell in it. And so the install on these are optional to grease or not grease. Because of the way that this reel is being used, I'm going to put a little bit of grease on there. You can use fishing reel grease. This is the drag grease. It's by Cal's Universal Drag Grease. I'm going to grease it and then we'll put that in there. Don't overload these. It'll only squeeze out. But the whole idea behind drag grease is to keep these washers fresh, that they don't dry out or wear prematurely because of it. When you put the grease on, you should wipe it off. You should be able to see the cross hatching in it. That's the second one. This is the second of the keyed washers. We have one more drag washer to go here. Wipe off some of the excess. I use the glove as a tool so I don't get it all over my hands. Put that washer in, and then the bell washer goes on. Well, this is usually a part where all of a sudden you start to get confused or start missing pieces and parts because we're in the reassembly now. And one of the things you need to do after you've taken your pictures, go back and review them if you have any questions. The 2 yoke springs go on. Then our sleeve for the anti-reverse goes on. And that essentially is the inside of the case, cleaned, re-lubricated, tested for that anti-reverse, and put back together. Again, this stud needs to be up to get into that piece. Go ahead and load it on. Aim for the holes. And hold it tight, and you should have a nice tight seal. If you turn now, that main gear should turn, and then if you pull back now for free spool, that main gear should not turn. So we have that stud situated the way it should. It's inside that hole in the jack, doing exactly what it should be doing. We're going to take our 4 screws. I'm going to put the first one up. Remember, they have those little washers behind them. Still haven't solved the problem. The problem with this reel is the line guide doesn't turn. But I thought I would show you the service first. Service is a full service, so all of the pieces and parts are taken off of the reel. But a lot of folks just want to skip, or sometimes they've got the reel open and they're concerned because they didn't take the pictures or something. So I thought I would go there first. Whatever you would like to do, well, you set your own orders there. I go north and south, then I go east and west. That kind of keeps the tension the same on the case rather than going around the world and finding out that the case didn't close properly or there's an inordinate amount of tension on it. One more. So Glenn sent me a host of reels. I just did a video on one of the Yvette reels that he sent me. He actually sent me 4. Some of them are missing pieces and parts that we're chasing after right now. But these reels should be serviced on a regular basis. And this is a good example. I always say regular basis when somebody says, what do you mean? Well, what I mean is appropriate for the use. So if these are going fishing every day, The service probably should be twice a season, and if you wait till they break, well, they become expensive, and sometimes they break at inopportune moments, like in the middle of the season when you need to tackle. So I would encourage you to do one at the beginning of the season or over the winter, and do the other one when about midpoint in the season. Okay, we want to get over to this line guide pawl now. This line guide rides on a bar up top and on the bar in the middle. There is a spring in here, so I wanted to make sure that that spring was there. Remember, I ordered one just in case. I'm going to grab my pliers. And yeah, this is, you can see that there's all kinds of dirt and debris and junk, and it's affected the pawl itself. So we're going to just replace that pawl. These came from mysticparts.com, so if you're wondering where do you get parts for Penn reels, that is a great supplier you can go to. They are an authorized Penn Parts distributor, and they can help you out. Okay, put the pawl back in. I'm oiling it now. The pawl was clean, so we don't have to worry about putting a dirty one back in. Put it over to the side here. I'm going to start the rethreading of this. These are plastic line guides, so you need to be careful as you reinstall these, because you don't want to cross thread them, and you don't want to strip that line guide, otherwise you'll be going to Mystic Parts and buying another line guide too. Alright, I think I got that seated right. I'm going to turn it. Well, I can't turn it until I put the drags in gear. Alright, we had those two tension washers. First one, the curve goes up. Second one, the curve goes down. And we have the click mechanism that I nested inside this adjuster here. The belly, or the upside, is the ones with the wings, and you have a tension washer in the middle of this. They go next. Then we can reinstall the star adjuster. And you need to make sure that your star goes on nice and easy, just like we were talking about with the pawl. Again, I'm holding the center shaft so I can turn this on. Once you get enough clearance, you can use the handle as the wrench. And what you're waiting for is you have that little spring that sticks out of that carrier. You need to make sure that that spring loads in and doesn't get trapped. Alright, we should have enough tension now. We'll see if our line guide turns. It does. This is over tightened. Alright, we've got it working the way it should now. And the last thing we want to do then is service the spool side. And again, you can see, even though these have been hosed off, there's salt and everything that's gathered around those screws. So be careful. I use a little penetrating oil to try and loosen up some of the salt so that I can remove the screw without it breaking. Do the same thing here. Now, these screws, if you took these out, piled them in the tray with the other side, I'm not sure they're the same screws. This one looks a little bit shorter. I could be wrong. I don't have the other ones out. But again, you want to organize your pieces and parts so that you know where they came from. I like to keep them in a group that basically involves sub-assemblies. And the reassembly becomes a lot easier if you do it that way. There should be a ball bearing in this side as well. There's a ball bearing on the spool or in the spool holder, and those are going to have to be oiled. That's why we want to get over here and do this part. The Fathom and the Squalls are the current lineup for the saltwater level line reels. They're very nice reels. As I mentioned, I think they're a value, or they're fairly priced. Yeah, see, this is why you want to do that. We've got a load of old sand and dirt and the like in here. We've got that off-balance spool. So back to cleaning 101. We'll clean this up. And I'm going to use this to dissolve. I'll probably use a water jet too. I'll go over to the local tap here because there is some residual here. You can see how the salt is kind of coagulated. What happens is micro sands, micro salts, and the like, they come in the water, and then of course when the water evaporates, that's what's left. I call them micro because you really can't see them. Obviously, if you're on a beach, you're surf casting, it's obvious that the sand is there. Not so obvious with the micro salts and sands. While I have the case open, this pad has got some rod and reel cleaner on it already. It's a kitchen scrubby. I can't say for certain if this is the Scotch Brite pad or not. I don't remember. Kind of feels like one. But I use that to clear it off. I think this is just looks worse than it is. But again, take care of these. Clean them up. There you go. Yeah, I think that was just a little bit of crusty. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to take this, I'm going to shut the camera off for a moment. I'm going to take that over to the water tap and just blow out anything else that might be in there. Okay, that's much better. All right, so we have going on the spool here. Took a lot of dirt on that spool shaft, the axle shaft, so let's get rid of that. I'm using a little piece of cotton, of a steel wool. I'm going to oil the bearing now. I've already tested it. I'm going to bring this back on and in. I'm going to use a rubber band here to hold this braid. As I'm doing that, I'm noticing that the spool also has accumulated some of that sand from the other face. So let's get that out. Light coating of grease onto the axle shaft after you've oiled the bearing. Let's reseat that. Just a light coating of grease onto the other side that's going to go into this bearing. Oil this bearing. Find the pen mark. Now, pen is going to go parallel with the base of the reel. There's a little hole in here that will mount into. That's how the frame gets mounted. We're going to do the same thing on this side that we did on the other side. We'll go high, low, and left and right. Overall, a nice reel. Overall, with that pole replaced, this reel will work beautifully. That's a process that some folks don't, they kind of skip it for some reason. I don't know what they're afraid of, but if you don't service that pole, eventually it will wear. I just violated one of the things I said. I was going east and west, I didn't. Going around in a circle. Hopefully it doesn't come back to bite me. All right. Here's your last one of these. We'll install the handle next. Now, if you're doing this for somebody else, if you're doing it for yourself, you know the location of the handles and preferences. Go back to your pictures. Now, in my case, I guess I got lucky because when I took everything else out, I noticed all the scarring from that setting on the handle. So I think this handle may be bent a little bit, but that's hard to say. All right, we have the tension washer next. We have the washer that's going to be for the handle. It'll sit inside. This was on the inner marking of the handle. So that's always good to note. And when you're doing spinning wheels, note whether it's mounted on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. I've done more than one reel where I've sent it back to a customer. So that was all great, but I cranked the reel with my right hand, not my left hand, as you set it up. So you learn. Check those things. All right, hand tighten as much as you can, just like we did with that pole cover. Move your drag washer down so that you don't trap the adjuster when you tighten the handle. Tighten the handle and then align one of the scallops with the hole for the set screw. This wrench, I often get asked, that's an Allen Tanny wrench. It's also available at mysticparts.com or at other online resellers. I'm having a little trouble with my set screw here. I think we'll go to the screw holder that has proved invaluable. It's been sent in by one of our channel viewers, Dick. And some days I can't live without it. All right, there you go. Get it started. I don't like to finish it with the starter because of the flexible blades. Finish it here. Let's review what we did. We took the reel apart completely. We knew that it had a bad pawl. We knew that it needed a good cleaning. We took all the pieces and parts off. We inspected each. We cleaned each. We re-lubricated. And, well, now we're back in business again. Okay, gloves off. It's time for a final test. We're engaged. Let's give it a crank. Turns nice and free and easy. Make sure that we have the rotation on that pawl. We do. Everything's working well. A little bit more oil perhaps on the worm gear. And this one's ready to go fishing. You can release, make sure your free spool works. If you like to have more casting, just back off the spool tensioner. This will all go away first cast, and it'll be back to level wind. And well, that's how you do it. That's the Penn Fathom 25 LW. Nice reel overall. Had a bad pawl for the line guide. Showed you how to service that. Showed you how to take the whole reel apart and service it. Well, I hope you've enjoyed it. For our first responders and essential personnel, the folks that are involved in public safety, I do appreciate everything that you do. Thank you, and thanks for watching. To everyone, this is a good example of what to do in the off-season. Get the reels serviced, tuned up, and ready to go on the first spring run. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.